and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money with your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for the last 40 years as the Money Lady. And as always, I'm a person that's attracted to innovation, to new things, to what's happening now. And this show reflects that philosophy. And I also believe, and you as my very faithful viewers know, that change is inevitable. And it's about preparation, knowing the proper resources, information, and people to enable you and your family, and I underscore family, la familia, family, to survive and even thrive in the midst of so much chaos, turmoil, and I can't believe it moments. And of course, the great today can't believe it moment is the fact that America is aging very, very rapidly. I told you that things were going to start happening so quickly that you were going to have to take a breath and look very hard at what you're going to have to do to prepare for this inevitable. And when I say inevitable, let's think about it and let's talk about it. Really, the greatest thing that happened in this country in terms of transition was the United States of America coming up the winner in World War II, which immediately changed our entire way of life, from farming and small towns and communities to cities and large landscapes and homes and houses. And did I forget, whenever men come from war and they run into and encounter and marry women, there are going to be babies. And there were millions and millions of babies born out of the aftermath of World War II. And these babies have taken on the title of baby boomers. Well, the baby boomer generation is in full force. We are the generation that is aging and not only getting older, but now we are retiring and moving out of the workplace. And I won't even tell you how chaotic the workplace is, because all the people that knew how things worked are leaving. They took their retirement money, they had their houses paid off, and boom, they left and said, I'm going to do a baby boom in my retirement. And the baby boomer is going to be me. And so here we are again with this right now. But hold on. Because along with aging have come unexpecteds and unanticipateds, and I didn't prepare for that. And that's what today's show is going to be focused on, talking about the whole phenomena of caregiving. And that is the number of people today that are taking care of, when they thought they would be retiring somewhere luxurious and glorious, they're taking care of parents, and they're taking care of siblings, and many of them are taking care of grandchildren. Bet you didn't know that was going to happen. And they're looking at that as a real reality for retirement. I didn't say a perfect reality, by no means, because for many, many people, that's not the way they thought it was going to look. With the average age, even 20 years ago, of the elderly not even making it to 60 and sometimes 70, now they're living way past 100. And the end is not in sight. In fact, scientists are saying that the average age, if you take care of yourself, is going to be 120 years old. That sounds good on paper, but how does it really sound when you're the person 120 years old, and sorry, you're not clicking the way you did when you were 40 and 30, and you find yourself needing help, needing transportation, needing food prepared, and dealing with the reality of, in many, many cases, sickness, which is some diseases, listeners and viewers, some diseases don't disappear in the sunset. Some diseases like chronic heart, diabetes, arthritis. Who'd ever think arthritis would be so ruthless? But it is when you're older. Multiple sclerosis, which is popping up, nerve diseases, all kinds of things are happening. So when we talk about longevity, we have to be very careful about what that means. Because when you think about it, you've worked for many, many years of your life. For most of your life, your adult life, you have been working, whether it's been for an employer, which is the majority of our seniors, or whether you've been self-employed. But the reality is simple, and that is this thing came on you a whole lot faster than you thought, and you're really not prepared. So I wanted to devote today's Power of Money to I Wish, which is dealing with caregiving, dealing with how to get through this in a systematic way. When you worked, someone else called your manager was always telling you what to do. The CEO is responsible for the vision of the company. He or she sets the standards for the company, but the manager, which the name says manage, is responsible for getting the performance in the production. So essentially, the majority of people were told what to do for 40 plus years. That's a long time to be told what to do. And then you went home, and again, you may have been telling your kids what to do, but eventually they grew up and they left, and there you are, okay? And you're not used to setting boundaries, looking at resources, cultivating relationships and friendships for this new part of your life, which is going to be a very significant part of your life if you are older and you are sustaining. And so I want to talk about that because I know for me, and I can't speak for you all, but I've always been a very transparent person. The reality of my age hit me dead in the face. Has anybody else experienced this? Where, you look in the mirror and you notice that things are different. You have the same basic features, but your face is changing. Your features are changing. And the first time I really stopped and looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, is that me? Now, I know for others of you, that's also a surprise, and some of you just disregard. And when I say the surprise of the mirror is going to reflect what it sees, not what you think. And some of you, as a sidebar, need to really understand that the mirror can only reflect what it sees, not what you wish. And so one of the dilemmas is the mirror is not reflecting what I want to see. Well, I don't know what to tell you. A lot of people opt out and they get surgery or they start doing things. But the mirror can only reflect the aging process. And that is certainly real. I do not look the way I looked in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. And again, looking at it at my age, 71, fast approaching 72 in a couple of months, I was like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? Or why can't I see the way I used to see? Or what's going on with my skin? And all these things have really, really kind of put it in my face. And that's why I'm talking about it with you all. Because so many of us in my generation have not adjusted to what aging really looks like. And when I say that, it should be an opportunity to re-energize, to revitalize, to really do the things you want to do. And I have news for you. A lot of people are. A lot of people now that they don't have to do a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 or anything that looks like work, they are now reinventing what their older years look like. They are traveling, they are taking on new hobbies, or revisiting hobbies that they did in their youth that they simply didn't have time for, raising children and dealing with the workplace. But things have now changed. And as a part of that change, the aging of your parents is looking dead in your face for those of you who still have living parents. And apparently it's a significant number. So this particular segment of The Power of Money, I'm going to be talking about how to get through all the things that you did not know from Cliff Notes. Nobody gives you Cliff Notes. Nobody tells you how to maneuver this, but it is a fact, a statistical fact, that taking care of other people on your own can have life consequences, even unto death, because we now know that 30% of caregivers die before the person they were taking care of. And you know what? I can understand why, because you talk about exhausting work. That is exhausting work. And most people today cannot afford to pay for extra assistance in washing of the other person's clothing, cooking meals, making sure they're dressed and clean. All of those particular activities, they call them activities of daily living, are extremely energy depleting. They are work. Only if you're doing it, it's unpaid work because you're doing it out of love. Now that's interesting because the majority of those doing it out of love are women. Men are not doing this. They don't. Remember, they were the managers. They told everybody else what to do. So many of them. But women are winding up being the managers, not the managers, but the caregivers, the ones who are giving care to the loved ones who are sick, who are not able to maneuver and manage. And this is extremely troubling, because if they're the ones who are being looked upon as the only resource, how do they get through it? I mean, for real, when you think about it, women, particularly mothers, they're taking care of children for 18 years. If they're married, they're taking care of him too. And then when the children are gone and they say, oh, I can take a breather, it's just him, then lo and behold, here the children come back home, marriage busted, grandchildren looking for stability and know that they can count on their grandparents. Children know this. They know grandparents for the most part are secure and it's a safe place. But their life continues again because now they've got to deal with adults. And then while they're dealing with adults and trying to get through that whole thing, their parents are into aging and have moved from seniors to elderly, meaning they're in their 80s and they're still living and they're still needing things. But it doesn't become aggravated, viewers, until really in their mid-80s, if they're still alive. But from 80 on, you begin to see transition. You will probably be around 60. Okay, so imagine that, having to alter your life. So again, the purpose of all my shows, particularly this one, because this is very intimate and personal with me, because I do have living parents. And I'm telling you, it is not just the physical, it is the mental that begins to really wear on you. So we're going to deep dive into this, and I appreciate you watching the show. I hope you like the new set. I'm always looking to do things different and see how people like it and see how I like it. I don't like to get stagnant. But moving on into this segment called I Wish, the pleas of today's caregiver. Let's get right on in that. If you could, Ben, if you'll so. I wish. It's a picture of a woman elegantly dressed who is blowing bubbles out of a wishbone. And boy, oh boy, don't we wish, don't we wish, don't we wish we could do things differently or someone had told us differently. But we're here. So again, as I said earlier, going to the second slide, I wish there were cliff notes to help cheat my way through this disease. Because I forgot to tell you that many times it's not just the parents, but it's you. You're not feeling 100%. Things are happening with your body. Conditions that you had not anticipated are now a reality for your body. And before you go into, oh, not me, I'm in perfect health, I'm trying to tell you that the human body is not like a car. You cannot replace a starter in a human body known as your heart with another starter. You can, but it's not going to be easy. And you can't get replacement parts in your body on a dime. Some things you can't replace at all, like diabetes, which is a blood disease. What does that mean? Do you do a complete transfusion and get all new blood and hope for the best? No, these are things that you have to deal with and live with. And boy, for myself, I wish I had known a little better these things, but here we are because life does not ever look back. Have you all learned that yet? There's no point in you talking about I wish I had a, because life does not go backward. Life goes forward. And hopefully you'll be on that train when it's moving forward fast. And it does seem like things are moving fast today. Although my great-grandmother told me, child, when you get older, everything moves fast. And it's not that it moves fast, it just means that you move slow. Ugh, that was hard to swallow, but here I am. So let's go to caregiver wellness, which is what I'm talking about. And it starts with, give us this day our daily bread. Today and only today is where your mind needs to be. It is okay to plan for the future, but it is much better if you live in the right now. What is happening right this minute? For many of us, right this minute could be life-changing. I mean, we got wars all over the world right now with people dying that never thought it would end like that. Can you imagine you go to bed and your next minute you're gone? You're looking at the King in heaven and wondering what happened? Well, life just changed on you. And this is where we are today. If we can make a point of looking and getting through the day, is that too much to ask for? The day. Does it mean I negate the power of planning? Don't be ridiculous. We all plan. In fact, in the scriptures, it admonishes us to, write it down, make it plain, make it easy to understand. You can have your plans and by all means do. And when you're younger, that's a must because you are now in the accumulation phase of your life where you're saving, you're trying to get things in place, you're trying to accumulate assets and money. And a plan is essential. You won't get to the end if you don't have a strategy to get there, known as a plan. But when you are moving into retirement and either your plans happened or they didn't, then it becomes much more relevant that you get through the day and that you wake up every morning saying, this is the day that the Lord has made, I will rejoice. This is what I will rejoice and be glad in it. And why does he say that? Because a whole lot of people did not wake up to see a new day, joyous, happy, with peace of mind, and looking forward to whatever the day is going to bring. Many people, may I remind you, COVID, 2 years ago, over 1 million people did not wake up to a new day. And the numbers have not slacked that much. We still are dealing with COVID. People are still expiring. And so I admonish you to start each day with, give us this day our daily bread. You give us this day our daily sustenance, our daily food, our daily renovation and rejuvenation, because we are living humans in a time where we never know. But we are enjoying this, and therefore I'm going to be talking to you. This is just one of many things I share with caregivers, people that are taking care of other people who are sickly, who cannot barely get through the day, and they are required to take a deep breath and dive in to the unknown with the confidence that they can be. They can be if you say so. Now, if you go into the day down and glum and gloomy and barely itching by, then I got news for you. You got a long run. Or maybe you don't. But for many, it's a long, long run. So I'm going to first talk about my testimony. That picture there is me and my mom. And I'm the oldest of 4 children. My mother is the matriarch of the family. My father transitioned some time ago with a heart condition. And she is now at 80. No, she's 90. And she has Alzheimer's. Not a dirty word, please, folks. Get over that too. 1 in every 3 people in our country will get this horrific brain disease. Okay? They will. She was a brilliant woman. She headed up the accounting department of my financial services company. She headed up audit in one section of internal revenue. The woman is an awesome woman in terms of numbers and efficiency and precision. But this picture was taken that you just saw 8 years ago. And to see her laughing and vibrant in the early stages of that disease, and my not having a clue of how much worse it was going to get, is illuminating. And therefore, I say to all of you that are listening, it is not easy or simple or matter of fact. Why? Because it begins to affect your heart. Your heart is the seat of your emotions. The heart is the seat of your affections. And the heart is what literally keeps us sustaining. It beats nonstop 24/7. It is responsible for sending blood throughout your entire system from your big toe all the way up to your head. And without your heart, you won't be around, period. The heart keeps the body alive. It keeps the joy flowing. So what happens when you find yourself in a situation that you cannot control that is terminal? You just don't know when. Okay, well, I got news for everybody. We're all terminal. That's what I had to learn. It's not will you leave, but when will you leave? And what will it look like? Now, with my mother's condition, that's a long-term condition. It is. And you watch them literally disappear because the brain controls all of the thought processes. It controls things you do and don't do. It is a repository of your memory, and it allows you to filter and process daily activities, daily life, daily. The loss of that particular organ is catastrophic. What could you do without your brain? The brain tells the heart to beat. Did you know that? The brain tells the stomach when it's hungry. The brain controls everything, and it processes through ears, eyes, nose. All of these things are transmitted and filtered by the brain. So when you talk about a person having visible cognitive challenges like Alzheimer, or when you talk about a person having mental illness, which is also the brain not functioning, okay, and mental illness right now in our country is epidemic. It is. It's epidemic. Why? Because the brain is a hard drive on overload, and it cannot efficiently filter and process in a logical way so much. So you're going to see, again, brain disease that's much more than Alzheimer and much more than some of the other brain challenges, and now has expanded to include mental illness, which is, for those of you that haven't encountered it, keep living. Keep living. Or maybe you. It's not just schizophrenia and other psychoses, but it's cumulative in many cases, meaning your brain has had to put up with and sustain and try to filter and process so much trauma that it begins to crisscross, and it begins to shut down, and it begins to quietly go beep, 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 plop. And there it is. And I wish I could tell you truthfully that a person, and this is a sidebar, but you may wind up caregiving for a person with mental illness. That's true. But as a sidebar, the person with the condition rarely knows they have it, because the brain will transmit that this behavior is normative or okay. So you've got a range of diseases out here today that are brain related, but are part of the possibility of caregiving. So that is my testimony. My testimony, again, is that, geez, I didn't know what was before me, but I did get a sneak preview of it. And I'm here to say again to everybody viewing, watch yourself. Watch yourself. Keep your health 100% if you can. If you're over 60, that means regular visits to the doctor every 30 days for checkups. Yep, because things happen that quickly. Many strokes go undetected until the big one, and then boom, you're gone. So these are exercising, getting rid of people that challenge your health and happiness. That includes toxic relationships and these so-called friendships that you think are so important for your well-being. Maybe you need a whole new group of friends. Or maybe you only need a few really committed friends that love you. I mean, because again, as you get older, baby boomers, it's not about Pepsi, okay? It's not about that. It's about authentic relationships. It's about intentionality, meaning I intentionally am involved and deal with people that I know will facilitate my peace of mind. And if not, let them go. I mean, really, don't do it to yourself, and don't do it with guilt. And please stay away from shame. There is no shame in protecting your interests. Period. Hear me. There is no explanation needed when you simply determine that the relationship does not meet what you need. Okay? It has nothing to do with anything but that at our age. Does that person meet your needs? Are they understanding? Can they relate? Are they too busy trying to do what they do? You already know. You're too old not to know. Now, you may think that life in a cave has been great, but please wake up and come out of the cave and take a look at what it is. Now, I said earlier that if you go to the screen, 30%, that's 30% of all caregivers. Go to the next screen, please. 30% of all caregivers die before the person they're caring, the people caring for them do. That is disturbing. That means just what it said. 1/3 of caregivers, people that are taking care of somebody else is having a hard time, die. And I can tell you, let's go to the next screen. Why? 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 Why do they die? Next screen. Well, let's start with why they die. They die from stress because, like I said, it's very stressful taking care of another human being who is sick and cannot attend to themselves, which means you are it. Tag, you're it. Now, for those who think that's simple, try lifting a person out of a bed every day. Try juggling that with other responsibilities, because statistically we know that caregivers, unpaid caregivers, have a lot more on their plate beyond taking care of their parents or infirm family members. It's painful, and it creates a lot of stress to the heart. Tension. That's another thing that comes from caregiving. Tension. Why do I say that? Because everything is around the well-being of the sick person. Families become stressed. Everybody has an opinion. Money is short. Yeah, because it takes money, for most cases, to take care of a person. Even if you are cooking, that's more food, that's more money. If you're having to deal with medications and they don't have the money to pay for it, then you do. And I'm sorry, I wish I could give you a better story, but so many families completely fall short on this. They just do. And it's one person who winds up carrying the emotional overload. This causes outbursts and anger fits because it is unfair, totally unfair. But are families willing to shift and to change? Sadly, not. It's always that one. And even in families, they say, well, she's the most capable. Excuse me, please. What does that look like? Okay? That's hard. That's really hard. And it's not fair. Sleep deprivation. Because again, as a caregiver, you never get a full night's sleep because you can hear them or you're anticipating their needs. And then what happens is, boom, your physical and or your emotional health can be challenged beyond repair. And I mean just that. You can't do it anymore. Being around the person begins to depress you. You begin to have, in so many cases, back problems. You begin to experience anxiety, worry, fretfulness, and with the overload of family commentary. Oh, did I talk about family commentary? About a situation that they know nothing about. You barely do, and the person suffering, well, they're suffering. So, what do? Well, with many caregivers, they do not have a social or spiritual outlet. They do not. They don't have it, or they don't have enough of it. And this is a time I'm going to speak directly to all caregivers and potential caregivers, which is everybody else in our age group. You have to have some kind of an outlet. If you can have a church, now is the time to at least be able to get that going on. Very, very important that you have some kind of a spiritual outlet. And if you cannot get to church because of physical limitations, well, I'm here to tell you, excuse me, television on Sundays is full of outlets. Television during the week, if you're on cable, has lots of outlets. You can watch on television, or you can listen to the radio, to the stations that are uplifting. That could be your classical stations, if that is your warm spot. For me, I love classical music. I love Tchaikovsky. I love stringed instruments. I love all of that. I love opera. Why? Because there's something soothing. It works for me. I'm not saying it works for you. Hip hop doesn't work for me at my age with my stress. That is not what I need. So, and of course, your spiritual outlets are important as well. Don't try to be something you're not. Be where you're comfortable, especially if you're talking about caregiving. Find activities that you can do that are satisfying, that facilitate your physical mobility, walking, at the gym, swimming. Those are things that are healthy and relieve that stress. Don't be in a 24/7 situation caregiving. Find somebody, even if you have to pay to watch that person while you take care of you. It's called self-love. The Bible says love your neighbor as yourself. You got to start with what you're about. Let's go to the next slide. You must learn to recognize your limitations and acknowledge your needs daily. This is mandatory for your mental, physical, and emotional health. I am guilty of not doing this. I did not want to acknowledge that I was going down. I did not want to acknowledge that my mental, physical, and emotional health was in trouble. Why? Because that brave smile is covering up the sadness of the situation. So this is why I say on a daily basis, you wake up in the morning affirming the joy of the day, affirming that you are God's child and that you will get through the day. If you are focused about how that day needs to look, okay, which is don't get involved in gossip. Gossip tears at the soul, which eventually affects your heart. Did you know that? People that gossip are totally toxic, period. And you don't want to be around them. Now, correction is not gossip. If you are moved to correct a person, and you better be very careful, because most people are blind when it comes to their shortcomings. They don't see themselves the way you do. They just don't, because that's humans. We never see it from the other person's perspective. But the beauty of life is that what you don't see will eventually perch on your shoulder and start pecking you on your face. Peck, 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 peck. And you're like, whoa, what is happening? Well, life is showing you a few things. Moving on to our next category, COPE. C-O-P-E. It's a system to remind you of your daily needs. Okay? This is for you, your own daily needs. This is not for somebody else. Don't worry about other people. That's what I had to learn. Stop being concerned. And I know it sounds very selfish, but if you see them messing up, then you're telling them very rarely will correct it. If they're sensitive, they will correct it. But most people don't see it like that. So you have to worry about you. Are you being the best that you can be for you? The first thing in the COPE system is communicate. Many of us came out of a generation where we didn't tell people how we felt. We just kept it internal. And what it's going to cause is stress. It's going to cause you to lead a very, very unsatisfying and miserable life. So communicate, and communicate daily. Communicate does not mean yelling and screaming. Yelling and screaming is usually the result of great frustration over a situation that does not seem to be resolved. It might be better if you just took a time out, took a walk, spent some time by yourself to regroup and come together again. Some things you cannot change, period. If you're dealing with a condition that's debilitating and ongoing, there's nothing you can do. If the person can't do it on their own, seldom can you do anything about it. But you can at least communicate with them that you, as a person, are experiencing a difficulty and that you need time. And take the time. Don't go through any deeper. Take the time. The second thing after communication is you want to learn the art of organization and simplification. I will say it again, and I've said it for 30 plus years. The goal of getting older is simplicity. You don't need all the stuff. Now, I'm going to be completely open with you about this. I was an executive, a CEO, and all the above. And you need to know that I had and still have a wardrobe that reflects that position. I did not shop at your lower end stores. Why? Because as the leader, I had to dress in a certain way. Now, I am at a point where I'm not going to be doing that anymore. And therefore, I am going through the very challenging situation of simplification. How many couture suits do you need unless you're doing an episode of Suits? And the sister girl is an attorney and the head of the law firm. And she dresses to the nines. That's not where I am. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm getting ready to get rid of them. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to consign them. I'm going to sell them. But that's not where I am. And I found that to relieve stress, organize and then simplify. Organize and simplify. Ben, can I see that screen again? Organize and simplify. Keep going. You will find that it will help you in your mental state. Communicate, we've covered. The next one is organize and simplify. The third slide is energize is important. But we want to talk about, before energize, is prioritizing your time. You do not have time to be involved in lightweight, everyday stuff. Now, for some of you, that may be a fulfilling expression of your time. But for most people, humans are best when they are purpose-driven. If you're taking care of family members, it is very important that you prioritize your time, who is going to be a part of your time, and making sure that you have enough time for yourself. Did I say that again? Making sure that you have enough time for yourself. And that comes with prioritizing what is important and what isn't. And if people are causing you sadness and pain, eliminate them. You know, the easiest way to eliminate a person is don't engage in communication with them. When they call you, you either take the call or you don't. I hope you don't take the call. Let it go to voicemail. And after a while, they may figure it out and they may not. But in the meantime, you have peace of mind. And that is important if you're going to be in a caregiving position. You cannot be stressed by other people's oddities, behaviors, and how they live life. Everybody lives life on their own terms. Whether it works out for them or not is not your concern. I know we come from a culture where we are family. That's nice on paper. But watch it play out. You will find that the majority of people are living their best lives. And if you can be a part of enhancing their best lives, fine. But at some point, you need to draw the line and say, I don't have the time. I just simply don't have the time. And be open about it, because you don't have the time. After caregiving for a person, you want to go home and go to sleep. Okay? That's what you want to do, because your brain is like, give me a break and a rest. And then you want to stay energized. And energized means just that. You want to be engaged and involved. I didn't say you have to have boots on the ground, but you have to be mentally agile. Crossword puzzles, games, being involved at your recreation center, line dancing, all those things that move your body and get you laughing. Laughter is wonderful for the soul. A laugh will work. If you can't find a way to laugh, turn on a Netflix and watch a comedian. And I mean, really, that'll have you laughing, and maybe even jumping up and down. I've had some fun experiences with some of these comedians that are out here. Laugh, get it out of your system, okay? And with that laughter, get moving. Look at your stuff fresh and realize this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. Don't let anybody change your mind. The next slide, which is your body and your brain. Keep in mind that your brain is running everything. Everything. And if you can keep your body healthy and properly hydrated, lots and lots of water. I'm guilty as well. I don't drink nearly as much alkaline water as I should, but I'm telling you, your body is over 95% water. And if you don't have water, you're starving your body. And you're also starving your brain, okay? Because your brain floats in water, and it needs water. So please attend to your body and your brain. Now, a word of caution. Next slide. I'm going to say this, and I say this very carefully. As a caregiver, or just engaged in life, be aware of the role of family and friends. As we grow older, it's a funny thing how family and friends begin to be more and more important. And I think it's because we recognize that money left you high and dry. It didn't give you what you thought it was going to give you. There's only so many trips you can take without feeling like, is this what life is about? No, it's not. Life is about family. It's about community. It's about friends. I didn't see a multitude of friends because as you grow older, your circle of friends is going to get smaller and smaller. And it should. Why? Many of them have transitioned, meaning they're gone permanently. And then many of them have transitioned to out of your space because you neither want them in your space, nor you don't need them in your space, and therefore you don't have them in your space. Now, the sad thing about it is because so many people have lived life surrounded by family and friends that when crisis strikes and they reach out to these people based on certain expectations, and the people don't meet their expectations, which is, well, I was counting on them to do this for me, and I was looking forward to that from them, and it didn't happen. And all I can say to you as a word of caution, don't have expectations of people. They're going to disappoint you every single time. But do recognize that we were not put on earth to be an island unto ourselves. We do need relationships. We do need family, particularly as we grow older. But you want trustworthy, I say this with great care, because the statistics say that among the elderly, the people that are the most abusive in terms of financial exploitation is your family. Yeah, they steal and they do stuff. So be aware. Okay, as a caregiver, especially, don't have expectations. I am grateful of the friendships I have nationally. I don't have a lot of friends anymore. I don't know if I had any friends, period. But I can tell you the friends I have now, I cherish them so much. And we're all kind of on the same road. I'm the one dealing with my parents, and the other two have lost their parents, so they don't have that. But they got other stuff. They got personal health issues, or they have extended family issues, or they are now realizing that all their titles in their younger years didn't mean a thing when you're out of that system, when you no longer can bring value to somebody else and you're looking for people to bring value to you. Don't expect it. No disappointments, but I chat with everybody every week. I love them dearly. They give me good sound advice when I'm teetering. I encourage them. I listen. Listening, oh my gosh, what a virtue. Just shut up and listen. Okay, if they're a friend. If they're not a friend, hang up. I told you that earlier. Don't answer the phone. If they finally get through to you and say, geez, you're so hard to reach. And you can say very honestly, I know, and I'm so sorry, and I've got to go now. So have a good day, and hang up. Okay? It's that simple. It's not nearly as challenging as you could imagine. It's not that they don't mean well, okay? But kindness is not in them. And you know this. You know this. So don't put yourself in this situation. Let me also encourage you to use the power of support groups for help. You can go on Facebook. There are all kinds of groups that are available today. You can call Council on Aging in your local area and ask them, are there support groups for caregivers? And there are all kinds of support groups available. Ethnic support groups, age support groups. Yes, young people are having to take care of old people, which is one of the nice things about having responsible children, because at some point, singlehood and childlessness means you're going to have to pay for somebody to show you some love. And that is very, very sad. The third thing is, when you need help, learn the power of help me, please. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. Very, very, very important. And yes, there are people out here and organizations and resources that can give you help. If you are on a 24/7 shift, there are respite care situations where you can take time off and just do nothing. Yeah, like just lay in bed. Look at the sky. Eat and just enjoy yourself for those few days, because you have subjected your body to extreme stress. Now, this isn't just for parents. This is also for spouses and for friends. If you're taking care of a sick spouse, I don't have to tell you how draining that is. And you would think because they're sick that they would not be demanding, because after all, they tell you, I'm not demanding. Well, how in the heck is that true when you're looking at them suffering and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? I mean this. How am I going to do this? What is this going to look like? And I didn't sign up for this. And it's a very bad thing, and it's happening more and more, where people that have a diagnosis of cancer, do you know their spouses are leaving? I can't say of any women, but I do know of more than a few men whose wives have been diagnosed with breast cancer, and he just leaves. He leaves, never to be seen again. And even when she is in remission, never to be seen again. Now, I'm going to say to you before you start saying, that is the most horrible criminal thing I can imagine. And I will say to you in response, please, please focus on her and don't focus on the act or him, because he did what he felt he needed to do to extricate himself from what he perceived, and I'm just speculating, as an impossible situation. Okay? Some people do not do well in crisis. All right? They can't handle it, so they leave. And many of them go on to fresh new lives like this never happened, new responsibilities like they don't have others. But my point in saying to you, focus on the person and not the other person for commentary. Because you can well imagine, in the midst of her physical deprivation and devastation, now she's got to deal with a spouse who has abandoned ship. Well, folks, I can't do anything about that buzzard, but we can certainly surround her with love and support and attention. And for you ladies out there who have been abandoned in the middle of sickness, don't worry. Payback is not a joke. I've been in practice for over 40 years and probably should retire. But I have seen so much that I should write a book, because it's going to come and get you if you do a person wrong. Oh, it's going to meet and greet you and say, come on in, I got just what you need. That is what's coming, and it may not look the way you think it should look, but rest assured that the law of reciprocity is in full motion, both to good and to bad. Those who have been loving and caring and considerate and not selfish will find that that will be given to them many times over. And you may say, well, I've been loving and good and kind, but nothing has come. You still here? Is there anything wrong with you still being here and full belly and right mental state? Is there anything wrong with that? And the people that were selfish and unkind will go their way as well. You don't need to push it. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to incentivize it. Okay? Which is, I'll give you an Amazon gift card if you take care of that situation for me. No. They're going to take care of it themselves, because they're going to do something that's going to put them into that, hey, here it is, reaping time, here it is, here it is. And may I admonish all of you, particularly those of you that are caregivers, to people who did not have the best people skills and who did not, in my opinion, lead a very good life. Just be aware that it'll all be settled. There's a song that says, by and by, when the morning comes, it will all be settled. Every idle word, every unseeming behavior, every cold, callous remark or comment or behavior. The quest for greed when you're dead, not so. The quest for title and status when you're old and infirm, not so. Life is incredibly, incredibly consistent. Pour in love. Pour in grace. Pour in forgiveness. Lots and lots of forgiveness, because we are such a pathetic people. Period. Humans. All of us do stuff that's just dumb. But be willing to forgive, and be willing, first and foremost, to value yourself as a precious, precious pearl in the midst of turbulent waters. And that the greater the turbulence, the more beautiful the pearl is. I'm Michelle Graves, talking about I wish, what a caregiver needs to know, what a caregiver needs to care about, and I thank you for being a part of my sharing today. You take care, and as always, God bless you. Bye-bye.